Hey guys, Charles Damiano here from the Bruce Lee Collection for another exciting episode, and today I'm here with Bruce Willow!
Hey.
Man, I always wanted to meet you, man. I've been watching your podcast for a while now. I know you have it a number of years, and we'll get into that in a second. But before we do, I want to also thank my Bruce Lee brother, Hector Martinez, for allowing us to film at his crib here today. So Hector, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Love filming here because as you saw his Bruce Lee gallery, it's like, what was your first impression of that, man, when you walked through?
Well, after I saw Hector's biceps, I was like, huh, nothing can top this. Well, the first impression is like, how does your wife put up with this?
Yeah.
What's your secret?
Secret,
I want to ask my wife, how can I do this? But no, I have to have a studio on the side so that I could put all my, I would say collectibles, but then I look around, it's like, I don't have collectibles, I have nothing. No, but my first impression is such passion, such history, such stories. Beautiful stories behind each item.
I mean, he's a historian in his own way. I mean, to display like this, and his wife's an angel. I mean, I talk about that all the time also. Not many wives would allow this kind of a gallery within their apartment. And Hector's wife is just totally understanding. Yeah. She's just an angel about it. So I give him a lot of credit.
The fact that she understands your passion. I mean, nowadays you can look at so many relationships where they don't even communicate. And then it's like, no, she understands his passion, which is like, that makes, the two of them become one. Yeah,
no, it's crazy. It's crazy. So for those of people who don't know you, I want to probably just start a little bit about your background. I know when I looked you up, you're listed in your YouTube channel as you do a lot of stunt work. You tried to get into acting. I know you told me recently you're trying to open up a gym. Just kind of give us a little background about what you're doing currently and how you got started in the whole martial arts and Bruce Lee world.
Well, I got started when I saw. Keep in mind, guys, I'm a little younger, so I got started when I saw a movie that did not have Bruce Lee in it, was based on Bruce Lee. It was a Bruce Lee biography called.
Which one is that? Let's see. Oh, The Legend of Bruce Lee.
No. A little later on. It was 1990, I think. I was 9 years old.
Oh,
1993.
Maybe it was Bruce Lee A&E or Bruce Lee. There's so many of them. I mean, there's The Greatest, there's BruceLee. Which one was it?
Dragon, the Bruce Lee story.
Oh, okay, Dragon. Oh, the movie. Okay, yes.
I think me and my grandma were probably out of cartoons to watch or something. And I was like, I saw this guy doing a jump sidekick with the sun behind him on the poster, and I was probably like, Grandma, I want to see that one. She was like, oh, okay, you want to see that guy jumping around? And then I saw that, and I became hooked. It meant something for me. I don't know why, because everything in Portugal is about soccer. I'm from Portugal originally. Yes. And everything in Portugal is about soccer. I had never heard a lot of people talk about martial arts other than karate.
Wow, that's interesting.
And then I saw Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, and I was like, I want to learn Kung Fu. And you know what? In my hometown, which is a little on the suburbs of Lisbon, which is the capital of Portugal, we had Kung Fu classes. There were Kung Fu classes. In my school, I saw like a pamphlet, a brochure, and it was like Kung Fu classes in Carnaxide, where I live. I can't believe this.
So is that what you studied originally? You studied Kung Fu because of that movie?
Because of that movie.
What style of Kung Fu was it at the time?
Well, it was Chang Chuan, which is northern long fist.
Okay.
So it's a lot of jumping, it's a lot of mobility, a lot of low stances, but then you get like a couple of steps and a jump kick. So it's not exactly what Bruce Lee practiced per se, and I already knew the term Wing Chun, and I already had heard of a couple of styles that he developed, and I went back to the movie and I was like, Jeet Kune Do, no, that's not it. Wing Chun, no, we don't have Wing Chun, it's Chang Chuan. Is Chang Chuan good? Because I wanted to be like Bruce Lee, but it was like, this is what we have, buddy. This is what's on the menu.
Everyone wanted to study his styles at the time when they, when he came out. But so you were inspired by Jason Scott Lee portraying Bruce Lee. And so that just shows you how powerful Bruce Lee's influence is, because Jason also got inspired when he made that movie. I mean, he was studying with Jerry Poteet, one of Bruce Lee's, first generation students, to teach him Jeet Kune Do at the time so he could portray Bruce Lee on the screen.
Getting involved in Bruce's philosophies and Bruce's beliefs help scare away all the fears that come into actually portraying a legend.
Jerry Poteet, who studied with Bruce Lee, was brought in to coach Jason in the gritty style of the master.
Bruce was a fighter. I mean, street fighter. He'd get out and he'd get into it, see? So he had that, he wanted that on the screen to be able to say that his fights look real.
You saw that through the screen and got inspired.
Yeah.
Did you know who Bruce Lee was when you saw Dragon, the Bruce Lee story? How old were you anyway at that?
I was 9 years old.
9 years old.
9 years old. I started practicing martial arts when I was 9. So basically, I think I had heard something about him, like as an iconic, almost pop figure, like like you heard about James Dean and you heard about Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
So I had seen something. I think I had seen a couple of bits of Enter the Dragon.
Okay.
But I hadn't, looked into it.
Yeah.
So when I saw Dragon the Bruce Lee story, I was like, I want to see everything about Bruce Lee. So I even remember the day when I finished the cycle of renting and pirating,
making copies,
from one VHS, one VCR, from one VCR to the other, doing the copies. I remember the day when I finally found the last movie of the list of him as a grown-up, and not as a child, obviously, which was the last one I gathered was Fist of Fury.
Oh, okay.
And I found it at a video store in Portugal.
Wow,
Lisbon.
yeah.
And I was like, this is the one I need. This is the one. This is the last one on my list. I remember I cried. I went on my knees, and my father was like, my kid's not good.
So you collected all his VHS tapes, I guess, at the time, right? And then you watched all the movies, and that's how you got introduced to Bruce Lee. Did any one of those movies do it for you more than the others? Because everyone has their favorite Bruce Lee movie. What was yours at that time?
I think Way of the Dragon or Return of the Dragon.
Okay, so you liked when Chuck Norris came on the screen and Bruce.
Yeah, I think I liked it more because I think as a kid it was less dark. It was a little bit more comedic.
Yes.
It was funny, even a little bit childish. I should say. So when I saw Enter the Dragon, I thought it was like very, a little bit violent.
Yeah.
Fist of Fury as well, but it was like, I love them all. But I think the one I loved the most was Way of the Dragon because it was a little lighter.
Yeah, it was. And that's Linda Lee's favorite because they say it's most like Bruce's real life character.
Yeah, since he directed it.
Directed it, produced it, and that was his personality, more or less. So Way of the Dragon was the movie for you then back in the day.
Yeah, I don't even remember that stupid stuff of him with the kid like, oh, mommy! I remember everything like it.
Yeah, well, you
help me. Sure.
Yeah, I could see how that one was your favorite because you're only 9-10 years old at the time, and that was very comedic. Yeah. The other ones were very serious and they were more dark.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you get to see Bruce working out on his own, doing the warm-up with Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
And I figured as I went along, and I think this is a great segue in my life, there's even more than martial arts, maybe it's the movement that I'm interested in.
I got you.
Because sometimes you can do something as basic as a sidekick, but if you're virtuous enough, if you're a virtuoso doing it, it looks like $1 million.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are doing like a double backflip or a double spinning twist kick and whatnot. But then you see Bruce Lee do a sidekick, and it's like, wow. And just that scene with the hooker when he's like in front of the mirror and he does like those 3 or 4 sidekicks, and it's like ba-ba, ba-ba. And it's like, as a kid, I was like, wow.
That little scene, right, when he throws those 2 lightning
because it was him.
punches.
It was not camera angles.
No.
It was not like you help me or choreography. It was him alone in front of the mirror.
Yeah, I love watching him perform those kind of movements also. Even when he's with Normal and he's getting ready to eat lunch and he does that little form on the patio. He brings his lats out.
Lat spread.
And those little things mean so much. And then remember when he first gets into her apartment and he goes, well, in the country we practice martial, and does those through 2 quick snap kicks. And even something like that, I mean, as a kid, you were like, whoa, look at those lightning fast kicks, and they were so fluid.
Because I empathized a lot with that because I'm an only child.
Yeah.
So a lot of my life was that.
Oh,
in front of the mirror, you know.
Yeah.
Trying to, you know, like do some sort of shadow boxing or shadow kicking.
Yeah, yeah.
Alone, but watching the movies and trying to imitate the moves.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was like, it was movement. It wasn't sparring, it was movement to me.
Do you still study martial arts, or did you do that as a kid? Are you actively still studying? I know you never stopped practicing, but are you studying with anyone at another school, a different style? Are you...
Yes. I've so my background is I did wushu, kung fu for 10 years. Then I did a little kickboxing, and now more recently some boxing, and now a little bit more profoundly or deeply jiu-jitsu.
Oh, okay.
Because I had no grappling skills whatsoever, so I've been doing jiu-jitsu for the last 2 years. And it's been, you know, like a humbling experience to get guys this scrawny doing what they want with you. And it's like, but I'm using all my strength. It's not about strength. It's about being water.
Amazing.
You know?
Amazing. Yeah. Wow. So you do the jiu-jitsu now as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see some of your videos. I have to show some clips of you performing. I love when you perform. You show how Bruce Lee performs some of the kicks in some of his movies, like Return of the Dragon, when he does the kick to Bob Wall, and then he comes with that big, you know, the round kick after he fakes, and then he comes with so lightning fast. And you show those. You have some great flexibility, man.
Thank you so
and
much.
Speed and And your acrobatics is like, who taught you the acrobatics to jump like that? And
well, in the beginning, it was mostly self-taught. You know, like obviously the kung fu helped a lot because it was such a broad style. You know, that required a lot of flexibility, a lot of mobility, and the difference between flexibility and mobility, I think, is very important to me because you know, it's one thing to just open wide and do the splits. It's another thing to do the splits on 2 chairs. Why? Because you have to hold. You have to squeeze and you have to contract.
You can do that. You can
while
put your legs
are
on 2 chairs and
yes, for example,
kind of like what Van Damme did in one of his movies, where he's
exactly.
standing there on the chairs and is in the my god! That's
because a kick is not just opening wide.
Yeah,
it's opening wide and then boom, and then being powerful at the end of that opening. So you have to be comfortable enough in a difficult position so that you then cock it, pop it.
Wow!
Right? So it's like. That's mobility. That's true mobility to me. Man. So that's what I always try to get out of the kicks. Not only a high kick, but a powerful kick.
Yeah.
So that's why I love studying Bruce's footwork. And,
Well, you do a great job with that. Now, on your podcast, I know that I watch your podcast now and then, and it's out of Brazil or Portugal? Where?
Out of Portugal.
Out of Portugal. That's where you live, right?
Yeah. Actually, never went to Brazil, even though we speak the same language. My wife lived there for 4 years, but she's Portuguese. But I never went there. Actually.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I should go one.
Yeah, definitely.
Someday.
You had 2 celebrities on your channel, which I was very impressed with, and I'd like to know how you went about contacting them and getting them to do the interview. One was Andre Morgan, which I thought you did a fantastic interview with him.
Such a gentleman.
And the other was Bob Wall, who I found the interview very entertaining as well, because we all know Bob's a character, right? And he loves talking about himself and Bruce. But how did you set up the Andre Morgan one? And for those who don't know who Andre Morgan is, why don't you tell the audience who Andre Morgan is?
Well, Andre Morgan was one of the producers, one of the line producers, because he was very young at the time. He was working with Golden Harvest for maybe a couple of years or just 1 or 2 years, because the first movie that he worked on was Way of the Dragon.
Yeah.
So he was very young. He was probably 18 or 19 at the time, I guess. I think he was he was around that age, and he even had a birthday on the set of Enter the Dragon. They had a cake for him. So it was like, imagine Bruce Lee singing happy birthday to you in your 20th or 19th birthday or whatever. So he's a master producer now with a lot of years of experience. So our talk it became more like a workshop.
Yeah.
Because after a while I was like, I can't ask him more questions about Bruce that he hasn't been asked before. Let me be a little fresher than that.
Yeah.
So I was like, what would you say to young producers? How do you see life as a producer? Because you have to be a little bit of everything. And then he started saying that he also he worked as stuntman for a couple of movies, like The Man from Hong Kong, and When Taekwondo Strikes, he was an actor. He was a priest.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah. So he was like,
interesting.
Imagine the amalgama of experience that guy has, being a little bit of everything.
Wow.
That's producing.
Yeah. How did you
Producing is like,
I know.
It's like, oh, we need this. Okay, we need this.
Yeah.
You don't know how to do it.
No, I know.
There's schools for producing, but it's like, it's your experience. It's N equals 1.
Yeah. So how did you reach out to him?
Oh, Bay Logan.
Oh, through Bay Logan.
Through Bay Logan.
Ah,
I had already done a podcast with Bay Logan. Yeah, the Hong Kong movie connoisseur, who lives in Hong Kong for 30 years or 40 years.
Yeah, he's amazing. I did
amazing.
a pretty good podcast with him a few times as well.
I
did some great interviews with him. He's a wealth of knowledge.
He's like an encyclopedia.
Yeah, you mentioned
Baypedia.
Who's the epitome of these historians, and he's one of them. Bay Logan would have to be the epitome of a Bruce Lee historian.
Yeah. And when I spoke to him, he was like, he spoke to me about Andre Morgan, and I had heard of him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, is he still around? He was like, yes, very much so. If you want, I can give you his contact. And I was like, oh,
okay.
Really? Okay. He gave it to me. Andre apparently asked him, who is this guy? What does he want? And he was such a gentleman. We reached out through WhatsApp, and then I called him, and
he said,
we did the interview, and I was like, oh, and it was during, COVID.
Yeah.
So I think that helped.
Yeah.
In a rough way, that helped.
Because everyone was home, they couldn't get out, and they said, I'll do the interview.
At the time, and I was like, wow, such a gentleman.
Yeah, you asked him some really good questions on Bruce Lee. I mean, were there any answers that he gave you that was really like eye-opening for you? Do you remember anything he spoke to you about pertaining to Bruce that maybe the audience wants to hear about, that he shared with you, whether it's Game of Death or Enter the Dragon? Because you asked him some pretty good questions. Especially about his tracksuit, I think you asked him some things on his
tracksuit. The one from the tracksuit, that's the one that rings to mind, because, a lot of people obviously have a very symbolic connection to Bruce Lee and to the Asian culture. So a lot of people believe, that's his words obviously, a lot of people believe that the yellow suit was like an homage to the Asian culture. Yeah. But then apparently from what he said, and he was there, when they tried on the suits, they had a black one with a yellow stripe, and they had the yellow one with the black stripe.
And this came from Andre Morgan, right?
And this came from Andre Morgan, so it's like, I think it's an official enough reasoning. But Bruce Lee he actually at first, I think he preferred the black one because it made him look leaner.
Yeah.
The black always makes you look leaner, and more athletic. But then they had this. He had a fight with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Yeah. Kareem's foot, which was like this size, had to kick him. He did like this front kick to Bruce Lee's
chest, right? Yeah.
And they tried it out, and I think in the script or the original ideas would be for him to have the foot mark on his chest.
Yeah.
But with a black suit, you can't have
see
that.
It, yeah. The outline of the foot.
They tried one and they tried the other, and the footprint became
better.
A better version for the yellow tracksuit. So it was like so they chose based on that instead of all the shenanigans about the Asian culture. And
did he say that Bruce had a say in the color of the suit, or was it mostly?
I don't think he mentioned Bruce saying that. Yeah. I think they all kind of, oh no, this works better.
Yeah.
So but I'm sure Bruce had his. I'm sure Bruce was the one to make the decision.
Yeah.
First and foremost. Right?
I always heard that the reason he went with the yellow tracksuit, and whether it's the color or not, just the tracksuit in general, was that because he represented no style, right? And the tracksuit doesn't really represent anything, right?
Yeah, it's like
whereas Inosanto's in the traditional Eskrima or stylist with the black suit, and Jihan comes out in his karate uniform or. What style was Jihan?
No, but that's probably true. That's
probably true, and then Bruce Lee was
like
no style.
No style.
Just fluid, freedom, but then Andre made it more like, was it because of the yellow, because of him. I don't know.
I heard about this. Sometimes people, when it comes to art, there's a lot of interpretations, obviously, and sometimes some of our favorite movies, we start to get our own stories with them, which make us feel good, symbolically. And I remember one of my closest friends, David Chan. He's my stunt coordinator, actually, in Portugal. We've done a lot of work, not only in Portugal, but outside of Portugal as well. And he's always working. It's like, that guy's amazing. And he told me that he actually took the filmmaking course here in the U.S., in Long Beach. And he told me that the guy who directed La Haine, which is a French movie with Vincent Cassel, the actor. That movie is like from the early '90s or late '80s or something, and it's a black and white movie.
Oh, okay.
Because it was shot in film, not digital.
Yeah.
So all the students, when he went there and he was like teaching a seminar or workshop or something at the university, he was speaking about the movie. He was talking about the movie and their hardships to make the movie. And a lot of the students were like, "Oh, why did you shoot it in black and white? Was it because of the oppression? Was it because of this, of that, of the poverty of the characters in the movie?" And it was like, whoa, let me stop you right there. We did not have enough money for a colored film print.
And that was the reason behind it.
And that was the reason. And they were like,
people want to hear something more symbolic, and
So I guess that this was probably one of those probably occasions, right?
So when you then got the Bob Wall interview, was that through Bay Logan as well, or
No.
how'd you set up that one?
I sent him a message via chat.
Really?
Facebook chat.
And he emailed you back? He messaged you back?
It took him like a year to reply to me, but he did.
Oh, you waited that long?
Sure thing, what do you want it? And I was like, oh my god. Bob Wall just O'Hara just texted me
you back.
And then he was not the one to set it up. His niece, who's like a DJ / singer. I don't know. She sent me an email. She was like, "Oh, I'm Bob Wall's niece.
Yeah.
I just want to know, who are you? What do you do? If it's where is it going to be? Published?" And I was like, "Okay, sure," because I figured it'd be easier to speak to someone younger about the benefits of a podcast or whatnot. Because
she gave them all that info.
I gave her all that info, and she was like, "Okay, he's gonna talk to you," and we exchanged phone numbers. But then it was very chaotic. He was very chaotic when it came to digital stuff.
Yeah.
So he phoned me. He wasn't able to log in for like an hour. So we talked on the phone, and he was already like on and on with stories of Bruce Lee, of this and that.
You're like, hold on,
save it for the interview, save it for the podcast. But he was he was loose cannon, really.
Yeah.
He was like talking to me like for an hour, and on that day we didn't even manage to get the interview done.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't log in.
Yeah.
So we had to wait for a couple more days when his wife would help him log in.
Yeah.
Something crazy like that. But we managed to finally have it.
Yeah, it was a great interview.
Yeah.
I loved that interview.
Yeah.
That was a long interview, and because Bob loves to talk, right? And he's a character.
Wow.
He's a story man. He can tell you story after story after story. So was there any stories that stuck out in your mind the most that he talked about Bruce that was like eye-opening to you that you can share with the audience?
Yes. I think Bruce wore contact lens. Mm-hmm. And during shooting Way of the Dragon, he had this, I don't remember the name of he had some sort of eye drops that he used.
Something, yeah.
And I think Bob Wall, I don't remember exactly, but I think Bob Wall had something similar to Bruce, or maybe because of the dust or something, he needed the eye drops.
Yeah.
And Bruce lent him the eye drops, and okay, so they shot and they finished shooting for that day, and then at the end of the whole shoot, Bob Wall was leaving to the airport.
Yeah.
And Bruce said, "Bye-bye, I can't be at the airport, so sorry, but I hope you have a great flight," and stuff like that. But then he surprised him at the airport to say goodbye to his friend, and he gave him like a whole box of those
eye drops. Oh,
so it's like,
funny.
wow, that's so, that's such a...
So Bruce did that
a beautiful gesture. Yeah. I don't remember the name of the eye drops, but it was something like this.
Yeah, I remember that story. That was a great story.
I might be butchering the story a little bit, but if you guys watch it on the podcast...
That was a great story. Stay tuned for part 2 as we continue our Bruce Lee interview with Bruce Willow, stuntman, actor, martial artist, and Bruce Lee fan and collector, as he shares more stories on Bruce Lee and his Bruce Lee journey, coming soon.